This video will be the most important video that you watch in your entire life. The reason why is because success is a report card of how well you're doing in life. And I know, that is not fair. It's a generational report card, but just like you, I grew up poor. I was on welfare in Wisconsin, alcoholic parents, no opportunity at all. But I found my way up. I even went homeless at 23 years old. And let me tell you, within 18 months of being homeless at 23, I built a 7-figure business, and I've never looked back. I've made $1 million per year ever since. So I'm gonna give you 10 traits that you need to learn today, so that way you can be ready to beat the 99+% of people. And let me tell you, these 10 traits, you'll use them all over your life, and that's why this video is gonna be so important. When your opportunity comes, you'll be ready to quickly take advantage of that opportunity. And even if you're not broke, you should watch this video, because once you build something, everybody wants what you have, and you need to fight harder to keep it than you ever fought to build it. As the biggest creator in the Airbnb space, I've had people on my heels. I can tell you that this is absolutely true. So let's get into number 1, resourcefulness. Resourcefulness today looks like having money, doesn't it? That's what everybody cares about. They want to see what's in your pocket. They want to see what's in your bank account. Dating culture is just chock full of this kind of like, how much money do you have? What car do you drive? What job do you have? But if you go back way back, 5, 10, 15,000 years, resourcefulness was the ability to gather tools, assets, things for your tribe, right? And resourcefulness in that abstract, at the basic level, to be able to find food, shelter, opportunity, make friends, all of that kind of like fully encapsulated like resourcefulness all funnels to financial success. Your ability to meet the right person, to get a job, to be able to find a place to stay last minute. Like when I was homeless, this was really tough. But the point is that resourcefulness is kind of like a mindset. It's a discipline, and it is a skill that when you apply it, you then get better at also attaining money. Okay, so the commonality here, this is the part that I really want to drive home before we quickly get to number 2, is if you can learn to be resourceful, you gain the ability to acquire resources in any facet of life. That skill set, that ability to acquire resources, directly translates to your ability to acquire money. So if you want to practice acquiring money, practice acquiring anything else, okay? It really will pay off in the future. It will be that simple. Hey, good morning, guys. Volume is low. How low is it? I'll try to fix it along the way. So thank you for tuning in. Anybody else with volume problems, let me know. Number 2 is perseverance. You could also call it grit, right on time, calm. So perseverance is your ability to see things through even though you're not getting paid off today. Now here's a really hot take. You are exactly where you deserve to be. And it sucks to hear that, right? Within a range, because you could be the right person for an opportunity. You could be skilled, talented, you can be a good person, but then you still don't get your opportunity today. And perseverance is the skill that allows you to stick it out even though you are the right person for the job, but your opportunity hasn't come yet, okay? So the reason why is you're never going to get and hold an opportunity that you're not qualified for. A lot of people want their shot, but they're not ready for that shot. And they want that good sales job, they want the good tech job, they want an Airbnb property, but they've done no studying. They've put in no actual work. They've not talked to 100 landlords to try to get an arbitrage property, but they still want that opportunity, one that they have not yet earned. And perseverance says you're going to earn your success, and you're going to keep putting in the work until you get there. Even if you think that your success should come today, the universe might decide for you that it's going to come in a year. And so the reason why this is important, life is constantly changing, and whenever there's change, there's opportunity. But you might be kind of in a still period of life where nothing around you is really moving. And if nothing's moving, there's no opportunity for you, okay? That bar fight concept where life isn't a chess game. It's not a marathon. It's not a lock to pick. It's a bar fight, and it's bloody. And you need somebody to pick that bar fight with you. That's your only opportunity. Somebody has to try to reach into your life and mess with you a little bit, and you can take advantage of that opportunity. Right? The homelessness for me was a bar fight. And until someone or something comes along and tries to knock you loose, the sands aren't shifting. Economics aren't shifting. It is only through shifting sands that you get your opportunity. And perseverance is being ready until the sands shift, and then you take advantage. And that's why you need these 10 traits, because when the sands start to shift, that's when you hit the pedal to the metal, and that's when you go. Okay? Third is persuasion. This is the one trait that has made me the most successful. And what's really funny is in this video, I have to try to be persuasive with you. I have to express to you some level of confidence, some level of conviction. Believe me, watch this video and you will be successful. That is persuasion. My very first job was in sales, selling newspaper subscriptions. I was an emo kid in a screamo band in college, and my drummer talked me into sales. And it's that sales job that taught me how to handle rejection, how to win people's rapport and favor inside of 30 seconds, how to express ideas in a way that were attractive. That alone has made me so much money, because not only did I make a ton of money in sales, then went homeless, but my first business I built was building sales teams. And then from there, I got into Airbnb and built a YouTube channel teaching Airbnb. And if I was not persuasive enough on camera, I would not have been successful. Persuasion is gold. It's going to affect your relationships. It's going to affect you negotiating for salaries. It's going to affect whether or not you get told yes or no if you do Airbnb arbitrage. Even if you try to negotiate with your HOA to change the laws for your property, if you wanted to buy a property to Airbnb, like in my world, your persuasiveness could sway your HOA. And so persuasiveness is huge. There's a guy named Jeffrey Gitomer, who's a very easy to learn from sales guy. There's a lot of YouTube channels about charm and other stuff like that too. I'm sure you can find all the resources in the world to learn persuasion, all right? But write that third one down. Now, fourth one is self-awareness. This one is huge because when I went homeless, it was because I was not self-aware. And I think I needed that medicine. And a lot of you, I think you can relate to this, right? We build a life based on our skills. And we build a life based on protecting ourselves from everything that sucks or that hurts. I had a lot of childhood trauma, right? My mother was a brutally violent, evil woman, alcoholic, very sad, right? And I had to protect myself from her. I had to see the world a certain way in order for me to survive as a kid. I had to be borderline insane to survive a traumatic childhood. And that created a lot of blind spots. And I lied to myself a lot as a kid. And so as I grew up, the trauma unhealed at 23, and then getting demoted from a job that I gave my whole life to. They demoted me from a sales management position to an assistant, and that broke me. That rejection and the demotion just shut me down. And it was because I was not self-aware of what was going on inside my mind and what mattered to me so much that drove me into homelessness. Your self-awareness can save you from making terrible mistakes. There's something called a blind spot. And if you like to dive in deeper to this concept, there's something called a Johari window. Super cool. There's 4 selves, right? There's the self that you see. There's the self that other people see. So there's visible and hidden. Now there's the stuff that you're aware of and the stuff that you're not aware of, conscious, unconscious. That creates a quadrant. And your blind spots can be stuff that you're not aware of, but other people see. Sometimes other people don't see it either, and then we're really screwed, and that's why we need therapy, right? So look up the Johari window. Now beyond self-awareness, you need 5, which is self-correction. Your inability to change. Your rigidness, even when you know that you're wrong or you're uncomfortable or your intuition says something's amiss. Your inability to make that change is what can drive you into the grave. And this is another part of the reason why I went homeless. This is why I lost $3 million in the stock market the last couple of years. I wanted to be a day trader, wanted to so bad, but I have terrible trade management. If I take a bad trade, I need to be right, so I won't exit a bad trade because I want it to reverse. So that way, when my win percentage would be high. I won over 80% of my trades, but I'll tell you on a few of those trades, I lost $250,000 in a day once. I lost over $700,000 on one individual stock trade, and that's just one. I have multiple that I've lost hundreds of thousands of dollars in an individual trade because I was not self-correcting. The first or second mistake that I made in the stock market, I should have went wow, that's a really expensive mistake. Don't do that again, dumb. But I wasn't self-correcting. Now, that is my personal testimonial, but you might have anger issues, you might be combative, you might be lazy, you might be addicted to video games. There could be something that you're not self-correcting even though you're self-aware, okay? And if you tell yourself these stories that lock you into those places, this will be the main thing that will ever keep you from opportunity or success because you're not getting up for your at-bats, okay? Moving on to number 6. We're gonna circle back to that. There's way more to talk about there, but number 6 is risk-taking. If you're not willing to be risk-taking, you again won't get your at-bats. A lot of people are really afraid. The thumbnail for this video was chosen because of this one. The gentleman that I copied the thumbnail for, Graham Stephan, he did a video last night about how to get ahead of people. And the very first 10 seconds of the video is talking about how people don't save money. Very few people save money. Saving money is cool, but you can't save your way to $1 billion, can you? You can't save your way to 10 million. In this economy, it's impossible just to save money and get wealthy. You can't do it. You need to increase your income. Inflation's out of control. Everybody's making money doing crazy stuff. We've got OnlyFans creators like Sophia Rain making $43 million a year when like most professional athletes won't ever achieve that. The way that people are making money with that and crypto and online stuff, money is just so volatile, it moves so fast. Because of this, inflation will run out of control. Because there'll be so many people hoarding cash, we're probably gonna print more, right? It's just not a safe world to be a saver. We have to be an aggressive player in this game in order to get through, okay? So if you don't have the ability or willingness to be risk-taking and to take a loss, you're never going to get ahead. We have to apply a combination. We have to have a recipe, my friends. The recipe has to be a combination of cash we can deploy and our own expertise and our own attention to like manage that cash. So for example, in my old sales business, I would buy these little tables and we would go out into the public and talk to people from across these tables. We'd have to pay for signage. We make some signs, we have this table, we had some like promotional items, and then we'd have like a point of purchase, like on a tablet, right? And we'd sign people up through this tablet. I needed a little bit of money to start that business, right? I needed the table and the signage. Initially, I didn't even have tablets, we just used paper order forms, so we had to buy pens, right? It took a little bit of money and skill. Right? So I had to have the skill of sales, I had to find a client willing to pay me to sell something, and then I had to pay for the supplies. And it's the little bit of cash to pay for the supplies and my skill that started making me money. And then when I started managing salespeople, I had to have enough money for payroll. So I needed about $5,000 in the bank to run a company where salespeople got salaried or commissions, and I had to wait for my client to pay me because I had to float that sometimes. But that was it. $5,000 of liquid cash is all it took for me to start a business that started making 7 figures per year in sales. And so the risk-taking part of this is you need to be able to risk that $5,000. Because if I didn't risk the $5,000, I would have never made the million. And you know, to get that $5,000, you know what I did? The van I was living in. For 4 months, I was living in this Mazda MPV van before I started my company. I went to a title loan place and I got them to give me a $2,000 loan on that van because I ran out of cash. I had a few grand. And then we ran out of that money. So I went to a title loan place and got a loan for 1 month for $2,000 so I could make payroll. A couple weeks later, we finally got our first invoice from my client. I paid all the people, all the money I owed them, and I went to the title loan place and I paid the whole thing off. And you know that title loan place, they're like, no, don't pay that. Why are you gonna pay the whole thing? Just make your first payment. Take your time, keep the money, that's your money. They wanted to keep me locked into a 20% per month loan. They wanted to steal from me 20% per month because they thought I was dumb enough to keep that loan product. I needed that money to make payroll, but God, no. So never take a title loan, by the way. That's predatory. They should make that illegal. But your willingness to risk that money, I was willing to risk the van I lived in to start this business. And it's what made me a millionaire. It's what made me a YouTube creator of down the road. All of those dominoes, the tens of millions of dollars came because I title loaned a $2,000 van that was my home at one point. And you have to stomach the same thing, okay? Next, there's no other way to put this but lucky girl syndrome. Have you guys heard of lucky girl syndrome, right? It's been all over Instagram and TikTok. It's like somehow the girl who's optimistic and believes in manifestation all of a sudden has a billionaire sugar daddy, or all of a sudden gets a trip to Cabo or whatever, right? And they can't really explain it. They're like, I don't know how I did it. I don't know how I found this rich person to pay for my way. I don't know how I found this really cool Pilates place that let me pay like a low amount, whatever. Opportunity is coming to lucky girls. And lucky girl syndrome is the belief that you can get lucky. This delusional optimism that the universe is on your side, that you wake up believing that the clouds will part and make your life easier. If you actually truly do believe this, you'll behave differently. I do not want to woo-woo you into like the Joe Dispenza law of attraction affirmation stuff, but I think my laptop is on a Joe Dispenza book as we speak, so cat's out of the bag. I believe in that shit, okay? But you will behave differently if you believe things will go your way. So you need to have lucky girl syndrome. You need to just believe that everything you do turns to gold, because you will try, and you will try like it works. Another part of sales, we have something called an assumptive close. You have this assumption that when you talk to somebody for a certain number of minutes, you assume that they're interested. So you assume that if you're going to sell them something or pitch them your product, you're going to assume that your product's great. They've talked to you long enough that you're interested, so they're obviously going to buy, right? And that assumption leads to you treating them like they're going to buy. And if you treat somebody like they're going to buy a product, they're going to go, you know what? Okay, I'll buy that. But if you treat somebody like they're maybe going to buy a product, the person listening to you goes, hold on. Is there a reason why I shouldn't buy this? If you treat somebody like they're not going to buy a product, they're going to have red flags everywhere. They're going to be like, this sounds really sketchy. This person seems a little nervous, a little shifty. So lucky girl syndrome is the opposite of imposter syndrome. So if you want to cure imposter syndrome, to study lucky girls and go, these girls are not qualified to be as lucky as they are. And if they're not qualified to be lucky and they get that way, you are more than qualified to not feel like an imposter. Problem solved, right? Can I get a like for that? Please, like the video, thank you. Next, this one works for me. Number 8 is desperation. When I went homeless, I became desperate. Stealing bagels from a grocery store to eat desperate. We're talking Aladdin level desperate. Now what's important about this is I had to shed some untruths. You know, like I said, my childhood trauma and like all this stuff. I had to shed some stuff that just wasn't good for me, right? I had to break it all down. And until I was sitting on the floor of a van, homeless, stealing bagels, I could not look at myself clearly. And then I couldn't, like that was the step one for me getting through it. And the desperation side is I was at the bottom. I needed out. It sucked. I had so much shame. My pride was broken. Everything I thought about myself was wrong. I thought I was going to be successful, and here I am homeless. I needed out. And I was willing to do anything to get out. So the desperation of hitting bottom gave me the fire of determination to do. If it wasn't for my homelessness, I wouldn't be here. I would not have had the fight. I would not have learned that fight. Everything that I did until that point was just to hide the fact that I felt like a little piece of shit because my mom said that I shouldn't have been born or whatever. Everything I did was just to cover up trauma until I was homeless. I never really fought for true survival. I was fighting to protect my inner child, right? So desperation, my story for desperation is that was the only thing powerful enough to break all of like the layers of BS that I was feeding myself. And so I really do want to upvote desperation. If you put yourself in a really desperate situation where it's do or die, the book Think and Grow Rich, I think, actually that's like what you could take from the book. Burn the bridges or burn the boats, right, is what people will say. Burn every bridge behind you or burn all the boats behind you. If there's no way but forward, then you will go forward. And that is like the hallmark of desperation. To do or die, humans, we do. We survive. That's like the reason why we're at the top of the food chain is we are the most adaptive survival creatures on the planet. So get desperate. If nothing else, put yourself in a bad situation. I did a video about one of my students who signed up for my Airbnb program. He moved to Dallas and slept in his car for 2 months and said, I'm not going to sleep in a real bed until it's a bed in my Airbnb property. That was great. It was really great. And he made it. He's got 9 properties now. Yeah, Moxie, he crushed that. It was so cool to see, but he had to put himself, in a do or die situation. Now 9, obsession. I'm going to use the word obsession, but for those of you still in the kiddie pool of life who are willing not to bone up and commit, you could call it passion. If you want to be soft, you guys can call it passion. But obsession is what will beat everybody else on this planet. If you go to sleep thinking about something, wake up thinking about something, do only that one thing because you just don't even want to eat, obsessed, you will become better than everybody else at that thing. There's a lot of people on this planet. There's a lot of talent. It's going to be rare that you're ever going to be the most talented person in the world on something. But I guarantee you, because of the way we built this world with social media and phones and easy dopamine and all that bullshit, it's easy for you to be the most obsessed person on the planet. I can guarantee you that. If you want to be the best at something, being the most talented is not the path, but you could be the most obsessed. You could have the most like give into one thing. So passion sounds fun, and if you're afraid of things that hurt, call it passion. Be passionate. Love what you do, but get obsessed eventually, because you're going to need that. I was obsessed about Airbnb when I first started building because of my YouTube channel. I wasn't obsessed about Airbnb when I had 10 doors or 3 doors. I was obsessed the moment I realized that I could teach you guys on YouTube this stuff 2017. And because I wanted to learn stuff and share that stuff, right? That's when I became obsessed. I wasn't self-aware enough to know that, but I still got lucky. I put myself in a situation of rapid growth because I found something that mattered to me, which is I wanted to be the best at Airbnb so I could tell you guys that I'm the best at Airbnb. And I obsessed over it so I could learn to be the best and then share it with you on YouTube. Because I was validation seeking because of my childhood trauma. And that's what made me successful. And so yeah, obsession is a path to the top. And the 10th one, this is also brutal. I'm sorry guys, but if you want to be successful, if you really care, you have to be ruthless. You have to be a killer. You have to have killer instinct, because we are also in a society today that no dollar that you get is free. That dollar comes from someone else. I want you to ponder on that. Everything is zero sum. There's not a dollar that I can make that doesn't come out of somebody else's pocket. There's very few blue ocean opportunities on this planet. If you find a blue ocean opportunity, God bless you. That's going to be great. And I'm going to give you, later in this video, I'm going to give you a little formula for that. You can actually find blue ocean opportunities. I was one of the very first people in Airbnb arbitrage, for example. So it's possible. But until you get to the point that you can create blue ocean opportunities, you have to be willing to take things from other people. Because again, if the sands aren't shifting, there's no shifting. There's no opportunity. You have to find a way to claw through the sand to get to the top, okay? So you can either develop all these skills that I just talked to you about, or the river of life will beat you into submission to develop these skills inside of you. So I want you to think about this right now. If your life is hard right now, and you are truly, honestly desiring a better life for yourself, I want you to consider that possibly the universe is trying to beat you into being the character that you need to be to get to where you want to be. Because there's things about you right now that are not worthy of the success that you want. And you're not creating those characteristics inside of yourself willingly. You're not making the steps forward on your own. You're, the whole Goggins bullshit. You're not waking up at 3:30 in the morning, running 50 miles, writing a sonnet, hanging upside down for 14 hours or whatever, like a vampire, and then going back to sleep. But the universe is trying to chisel out of your stone the character of your dreams. And so if you find that you're in conflict with what the universe is doing to you, you are either being worked on, or you are either actively diminishing your own opportunity by lying to yourself, by making excuses and having negative self-talk. So if the universe hurts and you're not being negative and you're not making excuses, then have some faith, because it's probably going to work out. But if you find that you have negative self-talk, you don't believe in yourself, you're like, oh, this isn't fair, the world is bad to me, I'm never going to make it, you are destroying your own future right there. Go back to Lucky Girl Syndrome. Go see article number 6, okay? And change the way that you see the world. Because the universe wants to give you everything that you want. And if you want to make excuses, the universe will give you excuses to make, because the universe wants you to have exactly what you want. And you just may want excuses more than you want success. When I started my last company, Helm, my revenue management company, I hadn't done sales in such a long time, guys, right? And I tell you guys, hey, we're launching this company, and next thing you know, I've got a river of hosts that want me to do their revenue management. And I'm staring at an endless list of phone numbers from Airbnb hosts that like this YouTube channel, that honestly like me. But do you think it's easy for me to go pick up a phone and call these people and do sales again? For some reason, it wasn't, right? And I was in conflict with doing the one thing that could make me wildly successful on a new venture. I was scared of picking up the phone and calling people that have watched my videos for years, people that already know me. I'm scared to make those outbound phone calls. So I'm not through this river either, guys. This is a constant journey, right? So I have to constantly go through the same things that you guys have to go through. And I just wanted to share, anecdotally, even I have my bad days, okay? So another thing, the blueprint. I'm gonna end with the blueprint to make $1 million, right? Go from 0 to $1 million, the quick, rapid, the rapid fashion. Again, you need to develop these skills first, or do your best to develop these skills first. So that way, when your opportunity comes, you can punch a hole in the ceiling and skyrocket out of here, right? But that's only when your opportunity comes, because sands don't always shift, okay? Who's ready for the blueprint? Who's here ready for it? I'm ADHD too. Yeah, here we go, Team ADHD. Lucky us, right? So first, you need to gain a footing. And that footing could be anything, right? For me, my footing was sales. I really liked sales. So I'll really double down on that if you're looking for something. Now, in the Airbnb world, people are overpaying housekeepers, by the way. You could do housekeeping and make $35 an hour as a housekeeper in Airbnb right now. It's kind of nuts. So I would say, if you like the Airbnb business idea, start a housekeeping company and do housekeeping for hosts. They'll pay you handsomely. And that's a footing, okay? Then from there, you create reputation inside of your space. Become reputedly good at sales or reputedly good at managing housekeeping or whatever. Then from there, you start leading at a small level. Lead one human at a time. The very first time I tried to train a salesperson, it was a disaster, right? But I put in my time and I got good at training salespeople. Now today, you could talk to Andrew. Andrew is one of my sales guys. He is part of Cracking Super Roast, and he's great at sales. And he had a hard time talking to hosts. He's very good at talking to people who don't have Airbnb properties and say, hey, Sean's course works, because Andrew has 40 Airbnb properties because of my program. When he started working for me, he was able to build his own business using the coaching, and now he makes $1 million a year. So his personal testimonial sells every newbie Like, oh, does Sean's course work? Well, of course, I've got $1 million a year I'm making because of Sean. But hosts that already exist, people like, I've got 15 properties and I've got a problem with price or whatever. He just didn't understand how to connect with those people. So he was having a really bad month last month because he was talking to Airbnb hosts and wasn't really able to translate the value of my program. And I was able to talk to him about what it's like to be that type of buyer, and I was able to coach him on how he can adjust. Because I feel like maybe he was competing with hosts trying to say, well, I've got 40 properties too. But they didn't care what properties he had. They only care that they've got a problem to solve. So my sales ability today is still paying dividends. But the very first time I tried to train a salesperson, it was absolutely disastrous. But to start leading on a small level, to teach somebody the thing that you're good at, allows you to then build leverage. Eventually, you could have 4 housekeepers. Let's go back to the Airbnb housekeeping gig. You could have 4 housekeepers and 20 hosts with maybe a combination like 40 houses that you clean for, right? And you do the inspection for those homes. You make sure that everything's done right. You do the logistical like supplies and you do all the good stuff. Now you have a housekeeping company. Not only did you make your 35 an hour, but everybody else is like making 22 or 25, and you get 10 per hour from all these other people. You are now leveraging other people's time. Congratulations, you own a business. Isn't that cool? Now that is where it starts to get good, because now you have perspective, a perspective you have never had before. When you have employees, you see their problems. You see how hard it is to do the stuff that you did when you were just a mouse in the maze going for the cheese. But now that you have real perspective, you can start to come up with these ideas that no one else has ever seen before. My business Helm is because I've taught people revenue management in short-term rentals. And I've seen their problems and how hard it is for them. And then I see competitors out there charging 10 or 15% for the same product or whatever. So I'm like, you know what? I'm going to put Evolve out of business and build Helm. When I got into Airbnb and did Airbnb arbitrage, I had 3 apartments. I had no clue what to do with them because I put employees in there. Nothing to do with short-term rentals. And it was only because I was hemorrhaging money on empty apartments when somebody said, oh, I stayed in an Airbnb in Austin last weekend. It was that time that I connected the dots. It was my exposure to all these different concepts being a business owner that allowed me to connect new dots. See, I took a risk renting apartments to employees so that way they would move in and work for me in sales. I knew sales, and I was trying to get better at human resources, right? And I failed, okay? I failed for 4 months. I had empty apartments. I was burning $6,000 a month in rents for 4 months. I was a loser, like straight up did a dumb thing. That mistake flipped into those going on to Airbnb, flipped into instantly making about $5,000 or $6,000 a month profit, flipped into over 150 Airbnb properties. I crossed the $10 million Airbnb mark like 2022. My students have made over $1 billion because I teach Airbnb now, because I was losing $4,000, $6,000 a month on leases because I was a dumbass. My being a dumbass is why I've made so much money. And you will do the same thing. And it will be because you put yourself in a position of leverage where other people depend on you and you have more perspective, and you will see dots you've never seen before. Like Pride Rock, Mufasa, Circle of Life, you can see it all. And at that point, you can go, I've got my big idea. And when you have your big idea, you need to go back to the 10 traits that we talked about in this whole video, and you need to apply all of them and just crush anybody in your way. Lovingly crush anybody in your way. Because if that is your destiny, it's meant for you, and anybody standing in your way will fall, and you'll make it. And you have to believe like that. And you have to be willing to get ruthless and take what's yours. And it's through that perspective that you'll get there. So thank you, my friends, for watching this live stream. I actually have to coach my students here in 30 minutes. I do coaching every Saturday in Cracking Superhost, and I've got a full coaching card. I might be there for 6 or 7 hours today. I love you guys. You're the best. And as always, I will see you on the other side.